Chosen one. Listen. Heaven has pressed pause on the noise of the world to speak directly to you. This is not coincidence. This is divine orchestration. Every distraction, every delay, every restless thought that tried to keep you from reading these words has just been silenced because this message was written for your spirit long before today. You are not reading by accident. You are standing in a sacred moment where eternity brushes against time. God has paused the world around you to whisper, "I have seen your struggle, and I am about to restore what was lost." You have walked through storms that seem to have no end. You have cried in secret when no one else noticed. But heaven noticed. The tears you hid from people were collected by angels. The pain you thought was breaking you was actually molding you. Even now, heaven leans in close to remind you that the breaking was not for your destruction, but for your awakening. Every heartbreak carried instruction. Every loss carried direction. And every silence carried revelation. What you thought was emptiness was actually the soil for a greater harvest. The unseen hand of God was with you in every valley, guiding you even when you felt forsaken. He was not absent in your pain, he was crafting purpose from it. And now, that same hand begins to lift you, restore you, and rewrite the ending that darkness tried to claim as its own. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 3. The Lord your God will restore your fortunes and have compassion on you, gathering you from all nations. Let that sink in. Restoration, compassion, gathering. These are not just promises written in ancient ink, they are living words. Breathing in your direction right now. God has not forgotten the pieces of your life that were scattered. He remembers the moments that broke you, the people who left you, the dreams that slipped through your fingers. But what was scattered will be gathered again, in ways you cannot even imagine. You thought the story was over when you lost what you loved. But heaven never ends a story in ashes. Every ending you faced was actually a transition, a divine pause before glory unfolds. That job that vanished, that relationship that ended, that season of silence where you felt unseen, all of it was positioning, not punishment. God was not rejecting you, he was rerouting you towards something better, something lasting, something holy. Chosen one. You have survived nights that could have destroyed others. You have walked through fires and still carried grace. You have faced rejection but refused to curse the process. That is why heaven calls you chosen. Because even when you didn't understand, you still believed. Even when you couldn't see the way, you still whispered, "God, I trust you." And that whisper reached the throne room. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour, it was heaven's strategy to prepare the ground for restoration. You were being hidden, not forgotten. You were being preserved, not passed over. When God restores, he doesn't just replace, he multiplies. The enemy thought he stole from you, but he only set the stage for divine compensation. Right now, a holy shift is happening. The same God who allowed the breaking is now commanding the rebuilding. You are stepping into a season where what was once lost will return pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Do not despise the years that felt wasted. They are the years that heaven will redeem first. The seeds you planted in tears will bloom in joy. This is your moment of awakening. The world will not understand the favor that is about to locate you, because it was never meant for them. It was reserved for the chosen. You are about to see the hand of God rewrite what the enemy tried to erase. Your name will be remembered where it was once rejected. Doors that were shut will open without effort. The peace that left you will return tenfold. Beloved, heaven is not asking you to figure everything out. Heaven is asking you to be still in faith and to believe that the same voice that created the heavens and the earth is now speaking restoration over your life. The time of survival is over. The time of restoration begins now. You are seen. You are chosen. You are stepping into a story that only grace could write. What you thought was an ending is actually the divine beginning you've been waiting for. You don't have to chase anything anymore. What belongs to you is about to find you. And as you feel this word stirring inside you, act on it. Let heaven see your agreement. Tap the heart. Share this message with someone who needs hope. And type 77 inches, the comments below, as your prophetic declaration that you believe this is your moment of divine restoration. You've carried weight that no one else could see. Smiles have hidden pain. Laughter has covered fatigue. And silence has spoken louder than words ever could. You've walked through seasons that seemed endless, where prayers echoed back without reply, and nights stretched long into hopeless dawns. But, chosen one, heaven saw it all. The burdens you bore in secret were never ignored. Every sigh, every tear, every quiet endurance was counted and treasured. You have not been forgotten, you have been fortified. There is something sacred about the weight you've carried. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. What you thought was breaking you was actually building you into someone unshakable. You have endured storms that stripped away illusions, forcing you to stand not in your own strength, but in divine strength. While others saw your struggle as weakness, heaven saw it as worship, because to endure and still believe is the highest act of faith. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." Those troubles were not random. The tears you shed were not wasted. Every hardship you faced was producing something eternal inside of you: strength, wisdom, compassion, discernment. The pain that tried to bury you has become the soil from which your purpose will grow. You may not see it yet, but heaven has been shaping you for a greater assignment. There were nights when you asked, "Why must I carry so much?" And heaven whispered back, "Because I can trust you with much." You were trusted with tears, chosen for challenges, and marked by trials, not because you were weak, but because you were chosen to demonstrate that divine endurance can outlast every storm. You've been carrying heaven's evidence that pain cannot defeat purpose. You see, there are two kinds of weight in this world: the weight that crushes and the weight that crowns. You have carried both. At first, the burden pressed you down. It made you question your worth, your place, even your faith. But as you kept walking, even limping through the valley, that same burden began to shape you. It carved endurance into your bones. It built compassion in your heart. It forged humility into your soul. And now, that weight is turning into a crown. What once bowed your shoulders will soon lift your head. The very thing that felt unbearable will become your testimony. You will look back and realize that the pressure didn't destroy you. It revealed you. Like diamonds formed under immense heat, you are emerging, brilliant from the darkness. Chosen one. God never wastes suffering. Every moment you felt unseen, He was working behind the scenes. Every time you thought, "I can't go on," Grace whispered, "You already are. You didn't survive by accident. You survived because there was still prophecy attached to your name. The same pain that tried to silence you will one day amplify your voice. Understand this. What you carried was not just your own struggle, it was intercession for others. You were walking through battles so you could later lead others out of them. You were learning the language of empathy so that when you speak healing, it will carry authority. There is divine purpose in every tear you shed. Sometimes, the strongest warriors are not the loudest. They are the ones who fight invisible wars while still showing love. They are the ones who wake up weary but choose faith anyway. They are the ones who hold peace for others even when their own hearts ache. That's you. You've been standing on sacred ground all along, even when you felt like you were standing in ashes. The weight of your calling has been heavy because the glory attached to it will be great. God is not cruel, He is careful. He knew that before He placed this mantle upon your life, He had to strengthen your shoulders to carry it. That's why certain things fell away, why certain people couldn't stay, and why certain prayers seemed delayed. It wasn't rejection, it was refinement. There's a quiet beauty in the way you've endured. You didn't need applause or recognition, you just needed to know that it meant something. And it does. Every hidden act of obedience, every unseen prayer, every private tear, heaven has recorded them all. Nothing you've done in faith has been forgotten. Chosen one, lift your head. The weight you've carried has not been in vain. You have proven faithful in the hidden place. And soon you will see that what you carried privately will be honored publicly. The crushing season was not the end, it was the consecration. You are stepping out of the shadows not empty-handed, but full of oil, the oil of endurance, of wisdom, of grace. And when people see your strength, they will wonder how you survived. You will tell them, "It wasn't me, it was God." Because through it all, He carried you as you carried the weight. The same arms that held the cross now hold you. You were never walking alone. There was a moment, chosen one, when you thought it was over, when the weight became too heavy and your faith felt thin as breath, when you looked at what was left of your life and thought, there's nothing left to rebuild. You didn't just lose things, you lost hope, strength, even the will to keep believing. But heaven never panicked. The silence you mistook for absence was actually divine stillness, God waiting for the perfect moment to reveal that resurrection was already on the way. Every chosen one has a breaking point. That instant where endurance meets exhaustion. You reached yours, didn't you? You reached the moment when prayers turned into whispers and whispers turned into nothing at all. But even then, heaven was listening. Even then, the Spirit interceded for you when you could no longer form words. As was spoken in the sacred texts of old, from the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. That verse was not written for history, it was written for you. The ashes you sit in today are the very ground from which beauty will rise. God never ends in ashes. He ends in crowns, in joy, in praise. You thought your ending was final, but heaven was just flipping the page. The truth is, every collapse you faced was calculated. The loss wasn't random, it was surgical. God removed what couldn't follow you into your next chapter. What you thought was punishment was protection. What you thought was the enemy winning was actually heaven's pruning. Sometimes God must allow something to break before he can bless. You see, if it hadn't fallen apart, you might never have looked up. You questioned, why would God let me reach rock bottom? Because rock bottom is where idols die, and faith comes alive. Rock bottom is where your own strength ends, and divine strength begins. It's where you learn that what you lost was never your source, he was. Every closed door was God saying, not this one, because I have better. Every goodbye was heaven clearing space for restoration to enter. Beloved, do not despise your season of nothing. In the barren place, roots go deep. In silence, revelation grows. God was not ignoring you, he was strengthening your foundation. You learned what truly matters. You discovered that peace is not found in possessions or people, but in presence. That's why the world's noise had to fade before you could hear his whisper again. You are about to rise, not because you fought harder, but because grace has decided it's time. The story is shifting. The same way winter surrenders to spring, your sorrow is giving birth to renewal. There's a fragrance of restoration surrounding you now, the scent of new beginnings, the warmth of light returning after a long night. Do you remember the moments you almost quit, when your soul said, I can't do this anymore? Heaven wrote those words down, not to shame you, but to prove later that grace kept you alive. You are living evidence that even when you give up on yourself, God does not. His covenant with you is unbreakable. You were never abandoned. You were being carried through the fire to emerge as gold. Chosen one. Restoration is not coming. It has begun. The breaking you endured was the signal that something new was being born. The reason you survived what should have destroyed you is because your story isn't over. There are chapters still unwritten, blessings still unfolding, promises still being prepared. And right here, right now, I want you to take a prophetic step of faith. Type I rise again in the comments below. Yes, those 3 words. They're not just a phrase, they are a declaration. A line drawn in the spirit that says, I refuse to stay in the ashes. I choose resurrection over ruin. I choose faith over fear. Every time you declare those words, you align yourself with heaven's decree that your story does not end in despair. Because you, chosen one, are walking out of the grave of yesterday. The dust on your shoulders is proof of survival, not defeat. God is breathing new life into what you thought was gone forever. Your strength is returning. Your voice is awakening. And your purpose is coming alive. The world may still see your scars, but heaven sees your resurrection light. The story they buried is the story God is about to display as testimony. You will walk into rooms that once rejected you, carrying glory they can't deny. You will laugh again, not the laughter of relief, but the laughter of redemption. So stand tall. You are not at the end, you are at the beginning of restoration's song. The ashes beneath you are fertile soil for miracles. The same God who raised Lazarus is speaking to your situation right now. Come forth. You will rise again, stronger, wiser, and crowned with beauty where there once was pain. God saw it all. Chosen one. Every silent tear that slipped down your face. Every night you turned your pillow into an altar of pain. Every prayer you thought went unanswered, none of it was hidden from his sight. Heaven was not blind to your suffering. The one who counts the stars also counted your size. The same voice that commands the oceans to stay within their boundaries has been whispering your name in mercy. You were never invisible. You were being observed, protected, and prepared. There were moments when you thought no one cared, when you looked around and found only silence. But in that silence, the presence of God was nearer than your breath. He saw what others missed, the weight you carried behind your smile, the way you tried to hold everything together while you were breaking inside. People saw your calm, but heaven saw your collapse. People saw your composure, but heaven saw your cry. As was written through the words of the psalmist in the book of Psalms, chapter 56, verse 8, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." That verse is not poetic imagination, it is divine record-keeping. Every tear you have shed has a purpose. Every sorrow, a future redemption. God is a witness who forgets nothing and wastes nothing. Even when your heart broke, He was already writing the next chapter in gold. Your pain became a prayer, and your endurance became an offering. Sometimes we mistake God's quietness for absence, but His silence is never abandonment. It is the silence of a craftsman at work, steady, deliberate, perfect. When a sculptor chisels stone, the sound is sharp and painful, but every strike has purpose. That's what He was doing in you. He was shaping the rough places, carving out fear, smoothing the jagged edges of your soul until you reflected His strength more clearly. You asked, "Lord, why did you let them hurt me?" And heaven replied, "Because pain is the only language some lessons understand. Every betrayal you endured taught you discernment. Every disappointment developed patience. Every heartbreak grew compassion. The people who wounded you were unknowing participants in your refinement. They pushed you closer to the only one who could truly heal you. When you walked through seasons of loss, God didn't look away. He walked beside you in the shadows. When you doubted your worth, He whispered reminders of who you are: chosen, anointed, beloved. When you didn't have the words to pray, He translated your groans into intercession. He saw what you couldn't articulate. Even your silence spoke volumes to heaven. And while you thought you were falling apart, something sacred was forming: resilience, faith, and divine authority. The fire that came to destroy you ended up refining you. The storms that sought to drown you instead taught you to walk on water. You discovered that even in the valley of despair, His presence was the constant thread that held you together. Chosen one. God saw the injustice too. The words spoken against you, the unfair treatment, the moments you were misunderstood or misjudged. Heaven took note. You didn't have to defend yourself, because divine justice has perfect timing. The tables will turn, but not through revenge, through redemption. The same people who questioned your endurance will witness your restoration. There's a divine record written in heaven's archives: your faithfulness, your integrity, your unseen acts of kindness. You think no one noticed, but heaven noticed everything. The reward will come, not in the form of applause, but in the form of peace. The peace that once escaped you will become your daily companion. Do not underestimate the God who saw it all. He saw when you forgave instead of retaliating. He saw when you chose mercy over bitterness. He saw when you kept believing though everything screamed at you to quit. That kind of faith does not go unrewarded. It moves heaven. You see, the eyes of God are not passive, they are purposeful. When He watches, He prepares. When He records, He restores. Every detail of your story has been accounted for, not one moment wasted, not one wound forgotten. Even the pain that made no sense will soon reveal its purpose. And when the time comes, you will realize that God's sight was never distant. His eyes were always upon you, not to judge, but to guard. You were never lost in the crowd. You were always marked for restoration. Beloved, the one who saw it all is now moving to make it right. The pages that once recorded your tears will soon record your triumphs. The same God who kept track of your sorrows is now writing the chapter of your joy. There was a season when everything around you seemed still, too still, as if heaven had gone quiet. You prayed and heard no answer. You worked and saw no result. You gave and received no return. It felt like a long winter, where nothing grew and everything you touched seemed to fade away. But, chosen one, what you called silence was actually sacred preparation. God was not punishing you, He was pruning you. You see, growth doesn't always look like gain. Sometimes it looks like loss. The barren branches in your life were not dying, they were being trimmed so that fruit could grow again. What felt like emptiness was divine rearrangement. Heaven was not ignoring you, it was investing in you. The Spirit spoke through the words of Jesus in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 2, "Every branch that bears fruit He prunes, that it may bear more fruit." That verse holds the mystery of your season. The pruning hurt because it separated you from what you thought you needed. People left. Plans failed. Dreams shifted. And the path you once trusted suddenly turned unfamiliar. But look again, what you lost was making room for what's about to grow. God was clearing the field of your heart, cutting away distractions so that destiny could take root. Chosen one, pruning doesn't mean you're being punished, it means you're producing. The vine is never pruned unless it's valuable. Heaven doesn't trim what's barren, it refines what's fruitful. You were chosen for divine increase. And that increase required a cutting away. You were never meant to remain the same. You thought the quiet meant God was distant, but it was the silence of strategy. Heaven does its best work in hidden places. Seeds don't make noise when they grow, they break in silence. That's what was happening to you. You were breaking open, not breaking down. Your prayers didn't go unheard, they were being answered in ways you couldn't yet see. You wanted quick results, but heaven was after deep roots. God was anchoring your faith so that when blessings bloom, they would not blow away in the first wind of adversity. There were nights you felt like nothing was changing, but change was happening beneath the surface. Your character was growing where your comfort used to live. Your endurance was expanding where your impatience once ruled. Heaven was teaching you to trust the unseen hand of God even when you couldn't trace it. Beloved, there's a beauty in divine delay. The pause is not punishment, it's preservation. What God is building in you will outlast storms because it's being built on obedience, not emotion. He's been training your spirit to recognize His timing, to rest when others rush, to stay when others stray. That is what makes you chosen. The hidden season taught you things success never could. You learned to worship without a spotlight, to believe without applause, to remain faithful when no one was watching. Those lessons are treasures that will carry you through your next chapter. When the doors finally open, and they will, you'll walk through them with humility, gratitude, and divine confidence. You are entering the season where the pruning will prove its purpose. You will begin to see the fruit of your endurance, joy that doesn't fade, peace that can't be shaken, provision that overflows. What you thought was the end was only the root system of your next miracle. So, chosen one, as you read these words, take a moment to breathe. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in divine timing. Heaven has been watching over every quiet effort, every act of faith, every tear you've sown in prayer, and soon, those seeds will bloom into evidence that God wastes nothing. And when that moment comes, when you start to see glimpses of breakthrough, when your peace returns, when doors open without effort, remember this season. Remember how you stayed faithful. Remember how you chose to trust when it made no sense. Those memories will keep your heart humble when the fruit appears. If this message has found your heart today, it's because you are part of something sacred, a family of chosen ones walking through the same process of divine restoration. You're not walking alone. If these words resonate with your spirit, take a second to like this message, not for recognition, but as an act of agreement. Share it so that someone else who feels unseen might find comfort in knowing they are not forgotten. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and stay connected, because heaven is not done speaking to you through these words. There is more to come. The pruning was just the preparation. The next season will make sense of this one. You are closer to fruitfulness than you realize, closer to joy, closer to breakthrough, closer to the restoration that will leave you in awe of God's timing. Your hidden season is ending. The silence is shifting. The same hands that pruned are now preparing to bless. Stay rooted. Stay faithful. Stay expectant, because the gardener of your soul never cuts without cause. And he never forgets to bloom what he's loved. Something is shifting in the spirit. Chosen one, can you feel it? The winds that once blew against you are beginning to change direction. The same storms that tried to uproot you are now carrying whispers of restoration. Heaven is moving. The atmosphere is different. What was delayed is now being delivered. This is not imagination. This is divine momentum. For so long, it felt like nothing was happening. You prayed, you waited, and you wondered if God had heard you at all. But hidden beneath the surface, things were aligning in perfect order. What you couldn't see was that heaven was orchestrating every detail. The silence you endured was sacred, not absence, but preparation. Every not yet from God was protecting you from a lesser blessing. And now, the yes is approaching, radiant and unstoppable. Scripture speaks with power in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verse 5. This is what the sovereign Lord says to these bones: I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. That's what's happening right now. The breath of God is entering the dry places of your life. The dreams that seem dead are beginning to stir. The calling that once felt distant is awakening. The very same power that raised Christ from the dead is reviving everything that was buried beneath disappointment and fear. Chosen one, this is your turning point. The tide is changing. You are standing on the threshold between your wilderness and your promised land. The winds of heaven are announcing your transition. You can almost feel it, that subtle, holy pressure in your spirit. That's God reminding you that you've survived enough wilderness to walk into wonder. This moment demands faith, not fear. You may not understand the how, but you must trust the who. The God who spoke to Ezekiel in the valley of dry bones is speaking to you now. Prophesy to your own life. Speak life over your heart. Speak peace over your mind. Speak restoration over what you thought was gone. Heaven responds to faith, not frustration. Everything that has resisted you is losing its grip. The warfare was intense because the wind was about to change. The enemy fought hard to make you give up right before the shift. But you didn't break, you endured. And now, endurance is being rewarded. The drought is ending, and the rain is beginning to fall. There is a sound in the spirit, faint but unmistakable, the sound of revival in your soul. It's the sound of something new breaking through the soil. What was once dormant is now alive. You are not the same person who entered this storm. You have grown deeper, stronger, and wiser. Heaven is releasing favor that fits who you have become, not who you used to be. Take a moment to reflect. Everything that fell apart had to make space for what's being rebuilt. You prayed for peace, and God allowed chaos to teach you its value. You prayed for strength, and God allowed weakness so you could find His power. Every unanswered prayer was answered in disguise. You are about to see movement where there was once stillness. People will suddenly remember your name. Doors that were locked will swing open, and opportunities will appear that no one can explain but God. You will not need to strive for this season. You will simply align. The wind is no longer against you. It's carrying you. Beloved, the shift is not coming. It's already here. And when heaven begins to move, the wise respond. So right here, as a prophetic act of faith, type 888 inches the comments below. It's not just a number, it's a declaration of new beginnings, divine cycles completed, and infinite grace unfolding. By typing it, you're saying, Lord, I align with this wind. I receive the new you're releasing. Do you feel that warmth in your chest? That surge of peace? That's confirmation. Heaven is bearing witness with your spirit. The old season no longer fits you. You've outgrown its limits, its fears, its delays. You are ready for the open sky. From this moment forward, pay attention, the signs will follow. Dreams will become clearer. Random conversations will carry divine direction. Peace will rest where anxiety once ruled. The small confirmations you see each day are heaven's way of saying, I'm with you. Keep moving. And when it starts to unfold, don't question if it's too good to be true. You've simply entered the part of your story that was written before your battles began. You are stepping into the fulfillment of promises whispered long ago. Chosen one, this is the shift heaven promised. The same God who breathed life into dust is breathing life into you. The same wind that parted seas is clearing paths you once thought impossible. Stand tall. The winds of change are not here to harm you, they are here to carry you home. There was a moment when you looked back at all that had been taken, not just things, but time, trust, and peace, and wondered how you could ever feel whole again. The enemy had whispered that you'd never recover, that too much had been lost. But the truth heaven wants you to know now. Chosen one. Is this what the enemy tried to steal? He could not keep. You have always belonged to God, and everything connected to you is marked by divine ownership. You see, the darkness didn't attack you because you were weak, it attacked you because you were valuable. The enemy only steals where treasure exists. He saw the light within you. the calling on your life, the authority in your voice. And he trembled. His only hope was to distract you, to make you question your worth, to convince you to surrender before your breakthrough. But you didn't surrender. You may have stumbled, cried, and questioned, but you never gave up. That is why you are still here. The Spirit reminds us in the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 10, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full." This is not just a verse to comfort you, it's a divine verdict. Heaven has ruled in your favor. The thief came for destruction, but life has spoken louder. Every plan of darkness has been exposed and overturned. The areas where you were once attacked will become the very areas where your testimony shines the brightest. When you lost peace, God began to teach you warfare. When you lost people, He taught you discernment. When you lost comfort, He revealed purpose. You did not lose, you were learning. Every loss carried hidden instruction, shaping you for a level of restoration the enemy cannot comprehend. Think about it. Every time you thought you were finished, you still rose. That wasn't luck, that was grace. The fire that came to consume you became the fire that refined you. The lies spoken against you could not hold because truth was already woven into your identity. The moment the enemy tried to erase your story, heaven began to rewrite it in glory. Chosen one, you have been in a spiritual war, not for what you lost, but for who you are. The enemy's real target was your identity. If he could make you forget that you were chosen, he could make you live below your authority. But even in confusion, your spirit remembered who you were. Something inside you, that unshakable whisper of divine DNA, kept saying, "This is not the end." That voice was the Spirit of God, refusing to let darkness have the final word. You must understand this now. What the enemy stole will not only be returned, it will be multiplied. God does not restore to the original, He restores beyond measure. The pain that felt wasted will yield purpose in double portion. The moments of delay will return as seasons of acceleration. Every area that was emptied will overflow with divine abundance. But before restoration comes revelation. God allowed the theft to expose what could not be built upon. There were attachments that looked harmless but were draining your anointing. There were relationships that appeared supportive but were rooted in deceit. The shaking you endured was heaven's way of removing the counterfeit so the authentic could remain. The enemy wanted you to see loss. God wanted you to see liberation. What left was never meant to stay. What broke was never meant to carry you forward. The breaking set you free. Now, as you step into this next phase, you are lighter, clearer, stronger. You carry discernment forged through pain and authority, born from endurance. And understand this: the enemy regrets ever touching you. Every attack he sent only pushed you deeper into purpose. Every delay he caused only increased your hunger for destiny. He thought he was stopping you, but he was setting you up for visibility. What was meant to bury you has become the platform for your rise. You are walking proof that what God marks, no force can erase. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead has marked you for resurrection in every area of loss. The plans of darkness are undone, and the evidence of your survival will soon speak louder than every lie ever told about you. So walk boldly now. Do not look at what was stolen, look at what's being restored. You are not returning to who you were, you are becoming who you were always meant to be. The scars on your heart are not symbols of defeat, but of victory. They say, "I've been through the fire, and yet I live." Chosen one, remember this truth: the thief came to steal, but heaven came to heal. The enemy tried to silence you, but your voice has become louder in faith. You are no longer the victim of loss, you are the vessel of restoration. And soon, everything that was taken will return, transformed, sanctified, and stamped with divine glory. There is a divine law that governs the unseen realms. Chosen one, a law that cannot be broken or manipulated. A law written by the hand of God Himself. It is the law of restoration. Heaven decrees that whatever the enemy steals must be returned, multiplied, and sanctified. The losses that once brought you to your knees will soon bow before the justice of God. The same measure of pain you endured will be outweighed by the measure of glory now approaching your life. This is not wishful thinking, it is the principle of heaven. When God restores, He never gives back what was, He returns what should have been. Pressed down and overflowing. You may have thought your story was too damaged to redeem, but divine law has already been set in motion. The gavel of heaven has struck. The restoration order has been signed. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 31, "Yet, if he is caught, he must pay sevenfold, though it costs him all the wealth of his house." This truth stands as both warning and promise. The thief, the enemy of your soul, has been caught. The losses you endured were not unnoticed. They were recorded in heaven's court as evidence. And now, repayment is required. Not symbolic repayment, but tangible, undeniable restoration. Every area that suffered lost relationships, opportunities, peace, health, or time will experience the sevenfold return of divine justice. Do not think that heaven has forgotten your suffering. God's justice system does not expire with time. What was stolen 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or even yesterday, still falls under His jurisdiction. Nothing is lost to the memory of God. Even what you forgot to mourn, He remembers to restore. Chosen one, this law does not depend on your perfection, but on His promise. Restoration is not something you earn, it's something you inherit as a child of covenant. You belong to a Father who restores, multiplies, and vindicates. You have divine rights that darkness cannot contest. And yet, before restoration manifests in the natural, it begins in the spiritual. The first thing God restores is always you. He heals the heart before He heals the harvest. He rebuilds your faith before He rebuilds your fortune. You had to become whole again so that when the blessings return, they would not break you. Heaven is not interested in giving you things that distract you from purpose. Restoration is about alignment, not accumulation. The process has been long because God has been protecting you from premature blessings. You've seen others rise quickly, only to collapse under the weight of unprepared hearts. But you, chosen one, have been refined. You have been taught how to handle glory with humility. That is why your restoration will last. It is being built on character, not convenience. Think about the ways heaven has already begun to restore you in small, quiet ways. The peace that once felt distant now visits more often. The laughter that used to feel foreign is slowly returning. The confidence you lost in seasons of failure is rebuilding itself from the inside out. These are the first signs of divine repayment. the invisible proofs that something greater is coming. And when the full wave of restoration arrives, it will not come as scattered blessings, but as divine order. The areas of your life that seem disconnected will suddenly align. People will return not to repeat old stories, but to fulfill new purposes. Opportunities you thought were gone will reopen at the perfect time, in ways that honor your new strength. You will look back and realize that the pain was not subtraction but preparation. Every delay was ensuring that when restoration came, you could hold it without fear. What you thought was wasted time was actually sacred training ground. You learned how to trust when everything failed. You learned how to love when others betrayed. You learned how to worship without reward. And that, beloved, is the kind of soul God can trust with abundance. The law of restoration is in motion. You may not see the results yet, but the process has already begun. Heaven never announces before it prepares. You are in the middle of divine recompense. The angels assigned to your life are already working behind the scenes, opening the doors that were shut, returning what was taken, arranging divine encounters that will lead to fulfillment. And when it happens, it will not trickle, it will flood. The restoration of God doesn't arrive politely, it arrives with power. It rewrites reputations, redefines seasons, and restores dignity. What was once a place of pain will become a landmark of glory. The same mouth that gossiped about your downfall will testify to your divine comeback. Chosen one, believe this: the law of restoration cannot be revoked. What the enemy took must be returned sevenfold. The same God who watched the theft is now commanding the return. All that was lost time, tears, trust is being restored in multiplied measure. Hold your faith steady, because what's coming will not look like what you lost. It will look like heaven keeping its word. There is a quiet joy that begins to rise after long seasons of sorrow. At first, it comes softly, a warmth in your chest, a breath that feels lighter, a sudden moment when peace no longer feels like a stranger. Chosen one, this is the return of joy, not the shallow happiness the world gives, but the deep, holy joy that only heaven can restore. You have wept long enough. The mourning has accomplished its purpose. Now, joy is knocking again. For a time, you wondered if you would ever feel light again. The laughter you used to carry felt buried under the weight of grief. But joy, real joy, does not die, it only hides until its appointed hour. And now, heaven is calling it back. The season of tears was necessary to cleanse the soil of your soul so that joy could take root in deeper ground. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 51, verse 12. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and grant me a willing spirit to sustain me. Those words are more than a prayer, they are a prophecy. David didn't ask for new circumstances, he asked for renewed joy, because true restoration begins within. Before blessings are visible in your hands, they bloom first in your heart. Chosen one, joy is not just an emotion, it's a weapon. The enemy feared your joy more than anything else because joy proves he failed. When you can smile after the storm, when you can worship while still waiting, when you can find gratitude even in the ashes, that is victory. Joy announces to every dark power that its influence has been broken. You are entering a time when your joy will no longer flicker, it will burn steady. The heaviness that used to visit you at night will lift. The shadows that used to linger will dissolve. Where sorrow once lived, Laughter will echo. You will begin to find delight in the smallest things again, a sunrise, a kind word, a quiet moment. Those are not random comforts, they are signs that heaven is restoring your soul. The joy returning to you now is not naive joy. It is mature, anchored, unshakable. It's the kind of joy that understands pain, yet chooses hope. It's the kind of joy that looks at loss and still says, God is good. This is the strength of the chosen, not the absence of pain, but the decision to praise in spite of it. You've been through enough to know that not every smile is real, but the smile that's forming now is different. It's the smile of someone who's seen death and chosen life, who's walked through fire and learned that ashes can still become beauty. It's not the joy of denial, it's the joy of survival, and it's holy. Beloved, this is the joy that sustains you through the next doors God is opening. Restoration is not complete without joy, because joy is proof that your heart is healed. You can't enter new blessings carrying old sorrow. That's why heaven took its time with your healing. God didn't want to simply replace what was lost. He wanted to renew your spirit so that you could enjoy what's coming without fear. You will notice a shift soon. Laughter will feel easier. Gratitude will come naturally. Worship will flow without forcing it. That is the fruit of restoration taking root. You don't need to chase joy. It's already chasing you. Heaven is reintroducing you to peace. And peace always brings joy with it. And when this joy rises fully, it will overflow. Others will feel it just by being around you. Your joy will become contagious, a light for those still walking through their own darkness. The same way your tears once interceded for others, your laughter will now inspire faith. God is turning your mourning into ministry. Right here, right now. I want you to declare something out loud, a simple but powerful statement of faith. Type "joy returns now" in the comments below. Those 3 words are not empty, they are prophetic. When you write them, you are aligning your spirit with heaven's decree that your season of heaviness has ended. You are declaring that sorrow no longer defines you, and joy will not be delayed any longer. Let that declaration echo in your heart. Let it be a reminder every time doubt whispers. Every time old pain tries to resurface, you have already crossed the line between mourning and movement. The weeping season is over. Chosen one, the joy coming to you will not be fragile. It will be rooted in truth, sustained by grace, and guarded by peace. You will not lose it again. Because this joy is not based on circumstance, it is born from revelation. You have seen God's faithfulness in the storm. Now you will taste His goodness in the calm. The return of joy is not an event, it's a rebirth. And it's happening right now, inside you. For every hardship you faced, every disappointment that left its mark, heaven has written a countermeasure, double for your trouble. It's not a phrase of comfort, it's a principle of divine justice. God never allows pain to go unpaid. When you've suffered for His purpose, He repays with interest. What you lost through affliction will return through abundance. And chosen one, the time for repayment is near. There were seasons when you wondered if the scales of life would ever balance. You gave your best and still ended up empty. You poured into others and received nothing in return. You watched people prosper who never paid the same price. But heaven is not unjust. What was taken from you is being multiplied in silence. Every hidden sacrifice, every sleepless night, every act of obedience that no one saw has been recorded in the eternal books. It was written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 7. Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion. You will inherit your land with everlasting joy. That is not poetic language. It's divine accounting. God does not cancel the debt of suffering. He doubles the return. The shame that tried to cling to you will be replaced with honor. The rejection that once haunted you will make way for recognition. Every valley you walked through is about to echo with the sound of laughter. Double doesn't just mean more of the same. It means restoration multiplied by revelation. The person you've become through your trials can now handle what's coming without fear. That's why God waited. Blessing without maturity can destroy. But blessing after breaking produces legacy. You've been refined by the fire. And now you can carry the flame without being consumed. Chosen one. Your double portion will not arrive through striving, but through surrender. The doors that open for you in this next season won't require manipulation. They'll respond to grace. You've been faithful in hidden places, and heaven is about to make your name known in rooms you never entered by your own effort. The honor will come not as a surprise to God, but as His promise fulfilled. You may not see it yet, but the evidence of increase is already around you. Relationships are shifting toward peace. Old conflicts are dissolving. Unexpected favor is beginning to find you. What once cost you tears will soon yield laughter. This is divine reversal, the sacred symmetry of heaven. And when it begins to unfold, stay humble. Remember what the silence taught you. Remember the lessons of the wilderness. So the blessings of the promised land don't drown out the sound of gratitude. Your humility is what will protect your inheritance. There's something sacred about your story, and it's time the world heard it. What God is doing in you isn't just for you, it's for everyone who ever wondered if faith still works. You are a living example that patience pays, that obedience bears fruit, and that divine timing is never late. That's why, if this message finds you at the right moment, take it as confirmation. You've come too far to stay silent. Let your agreement echo in both the natural and the spiritual. If these words stir something deep in your spirit, take a second, not out of habit, but out of faith, to like this message. It's your silent amen to heaven. Then share it. Someone you know is standing on the edge of giving up, and your simple act could become their sign to hold on. You have no idea how many lives your obedience can touch. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not for numbers, but for connection. These words aren't random inspiration. They are divine reminders meant to walk with you week after week. Stay close to this flow of truth, because the story of your restoration is still unfolding. The same God who began the good work in you will be faithful to complete it. You are about to walk in double peace, double strength, double clarity, double provision. And when it arrives, it won't feel like a miracle you barely recognize. It will feel like coming home, because you've already lived the lessons required to sustain it. You've learned how to protect your joy, how to guard your peace, how to remain kind when life wasn't kind to you. That's why this blessing will last. It's being entrusted to someone who knows its value. So breathe. Chosen one, you're not waiting for restoration anymore, you're standing in it. Heaven's repayment plan has begun, and when the double portion manifests fully, you'll look back and realize every tear, every test, every lonely prayer was worth it. There were moments when you looked at your life and whispered, "Lord, did I miss it?" The waiting stretched longer than you imagined, and the promises seemed buried beneath the dust of delay. You watched others move forward while you remained still, wondering if God had forgotten your name. But heaven wants you to know the waiting was not a punishment, it was a strategy. Divine timing is never late, even when it feels unbearable. You see, the Creator who designed time does not live within it. What feels delayed to you is perfectly aligned to Him. Every pause was intentional, every detour divinely mapped. God has been weaving threads of destiny behind the curtain, aligning people, places, and moments that will soon converge into the fulfillment of His promise over your life. As revealed in the writings of the prophet Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the revelation awaits an appointed time, it speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay." Those words were written for every heart that's grown weary in the wait. The vision still speaks, it has not died. What God promised will come to pass, not a moment sooner or later than it's meant to. You may feel stuck, but heaven sees you as planted. The soil of waiting is where divine strength takes root. Chosen one. There are things you prayed for years ago that seem to fade away, but they are still alive in the chambers of heaven. God hasn't said no, He said not yet. And when yet arrives, it will unfold with precision that will leave you speechless. You'll look back and realize why certain doors had to stay closed, why certain people couldn't walk with you, why certain opportunities slipped away. They weren't the right fit for your timing. Waiting has been heaven's way of teaching you rhythm, not to rush, not to grasp, not to panic when things slow down. You've learned that delay doesn't mean denial, and silence doesn't mean abandonment. You've learned to hear the still, soft voice even in quiet places. You've learned how to rest in the in-between. That's not wasted time. That's divine maturity. Think about it when a seed is buried. It looks like death, but underground, unseen by the world. It's breaking open. It's preparing to rise. You've been buried in divine soil, and heaven has been nurturing your roots. When the right season comes, growth will appear overnight. But it won't be random, it will be the result of everything cultivated in secret. The waiting season also served another purpose: protection. Had you received certain blessings too soon, they might have felt like burdens. God withheld not because you were unworthy, but because you were still healing. Blessings can't thrive in broken hands. That's why He took time to mend what was fractured, to rebuild what was fragile. You had to be strengthened before the promise could rest upon you. Every pause had purpose. You learned the value of trust when you had nothing else to hold on to. You learned endurance when everything inside you wanted to quit. You learned how to worship without results, how to believe without evidence. Those lessons are priceless. They are what separate those who merely hope from those who carry heaven's endurance. Chosen one. Divine timing isn't random, it's relational. It's designed to align your heart with His will. When you finally see the promise manifest, it will not only bless you, but also bless others through you. You are not waiting for a small victory. You are waiting for a generational shift. What God is doing in you will outlive you. And yes, sometimes waiting hurts. Sometimes it feels unfair, like you've been left behind. But in truth, you've been hidden. Hidden for refinement. Hidden for safety. Hidden until the moment when revelation meets readiness. The world will see your suddenly, but you and heaven will know it was years in the making. You're closer than you realize. The signs are subtle, the peace that feels deeper than before, the inner strength that surprises you, the hope that refuses to die. These are not coincidences, they are the indicators that the time is near. When the divine moment arrives, it won't require striving. It will feel natural, effortless, ordained. What once felt delayed will make perfect sense. You'll see that heaven was never behind schedule, it was simply setting the stage. Chosen one, keep your posture of expectancy. The waiting has built capacity. The longer you've waited, the larger the promise will be when it comes. The same God who asked you to wait is the one preparing to fulfill his word with glory that far exceeds your imagination. Hold steady. Trust his timing. Every clock on earth may have moved on, but heaven's timing is still perfect, and it's about to strike in your favor. There comes a moment, chosen one, when heaven opens a door that no human hand can close. You've knocked, waited, and wept in front of sealed gates for so long that hope began to fade. But now, divine movement is stirring behind the scenes. The hinges are turning. The locks are breaking. The way that was once blocked is being opened by the very hand of God. No effort, no striving, no negotiation, just divine favor clearing your path. You faced closed doors that confused you. Opportunities slipped away. People turned their backs, and timing never seemed to match your faith. You wondered, Lord, if you called me, why does every door remain shut? But the truth is this, the wrong doors had to close so that you would not settle for less than what heaven designed. Rejection was redirection. Denial was divine protection. We are reminded by the words written in the book of Revelation. Chapter 3, verse 7, what he opens no one can shut, and what he shuts no one can open. This is one of the most powerful promises in all of Scripture. It declares that God himself is the keeper of access, not people, not systems, not circumstance. When he decides that it's your time, no opposition can stand. When he says, enter, even walls built against you crumble into dust. The key to your next season is already in his hand, and heaven has turned it in your favor. Chosen one, you don't need to force this next door open. The season of striving is over. The door you're about to walk through will not require your strength. It will recognize your obedience. You've already proven your faith in the waiting, in the pressing, in the pain. Now the reward for endurance is entrance. You're not knocking anymore. You're being invited in. And when God opens the door, it won't be a small crack of opportunity. It will be wide, radiant, undeniable. It won't just let you in, it will usher you into rooms you never imagined entering. You'll stand in places that once intimidated you, and you'll realize you belong there because heaven sent you. Every delay before this was preparing you for access without anxiety. God was aligning your heart to handle the blessings that await. Because sometimes the blessing isn't ready for you, and sometimes you aren't ready for the blessing. That's why he takes time to shape you, to strengthen you, to build discernment so that when the door opens, you'll recognize which opportunities are divine and which are distractions. Do not fear the unknown behind the door. What's ahead is not a trap, it's a table. God doesn't open doors that lead to ruin. He opens doors that lead to restoration, purpose, and peace. You've been walking through narrow paths for years, but this one opens into wide space. It will feel like breathing again after holding your breath for too long. You will know this door by its peace. It won't come with chaos or confusion. It won't demand compromise or disguise. It will carry the fragrance of God's timing, calm, sure, undeniable. When it opens, step through boldly. Don't hesitate. Don't look back to the doors that closed. They were never meant to remain open. Some chapters must seal before the new one can shine. And as this word reaches your heart, take a step of faith right here and now. Declare that you are ready for heaven's opening. Type 4,444 inches the comments below. Those 4 4s symbolize open gates, divine order, and the establishment of new foundations. It's not superstition, it's alignment. When you type it, you're saying, God, I'm ready to walk through the doors you open, and I release the ones you've shut, because this is your time. Chosen one. The waiting was not wasted, it was weight training. The battles taught you how to stand. The loneliness taught you how to listen. And now, the open door will reveal why everything had to happen the way it did. The pain, the pauses, the pruning, all of it was leading here. When you step through, things will accelerate. Connections will flow naturally. Provision will appear without struggle. And purpose will feel effortless. It's not because life suddenly became easy, it's because you're finally aligned. When heaven opens a door, the wind of destiny carries you forward. This is your confirmation. The door that was once sealed by human limitation has been unlocked by divine decree. The same God who shut the wrong paths is now ushering you into the right one. You don't have to understand it, just walk through it. Heaven has spoken. The door stands open, and this time, nothing and no one can shut it. There comes a sacred point in every chosen life when you begin to see it, the pattern behind the pain, the design behind the detours. For so long you asked, why did it have to happen this way? And heaven stayed silent. But now, clarity begins to dawn. Slowly, gently, the pieces come together, and you realize that none of it was wasted. Every heartbreak, every delay, every unanswered prayer carried a hidden assignment. You see, God never works in chaos. Even when your life looked chaotic, He was weaving order in what appeared like disorder, beauty in what looked like ruin. The pain you thought would destroy you was actually part of a divine blueprint. Heaven never wastes suffering, it repurposes it. What seemed meaningless is now revealing meaning. As the Apostle Paul wrote in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." That verse is not just comfort, it's revelation. All things means the good and the painful, the expected and the unexpected. Even the things you prayed against have become instruments of grace. The closed doors, the betrayals, the disappointments, they were all part of a holy orchestration. You were never being abandoned, you were being arranged. Chosen one. If you could see the full map of your journey from heaven's perspective, you would not change a single moment. The very wounds that humbled you became the gateways through which wisdom entered. The people who left you created the space where divine companionship could dwell. The losses that broke your heart cleared the ground for blessings that could last. When you said, "Lord, "I don't understand." Heaven whispered, "You don't have to just trust that I do." And now, that trust is being rewarded with understanding. You are seeing how the pain protected you, how the waiting matured you, how the silence prepared you. Nothing you endured was random. It was all connected to something greater than you could see. You thought the rejection was personal, but it was providential. You thought the ending was tragic, but it was transition. You thought the delay was cruel, but it was correction in disguise. God never punishes his chosen, he prepares them. What he removes, he replaces with something that reflects his love and his timing. Look back for a moment, not with sorrow, but with gratitude. The places you once cursed have now become sacred. The lessons you learned in heartbreak became the foundation of your discernment. The tears that once symbolized defeat now represent anointing. You can see now that every valley taught you to value the mountain. This is the wisdom of the chosen, to see divine fingerprints in human pain. What others call coincidence, you call confirmation. What others see as failure, you recognize as formation. You have learned the secret rhythm of heaven, that nothing is truly lost, only transformed. Chosen one. Understanding why it had to happen is part of your healing, because revelation brings release. You can finally forgive what hurt you, not because it was right, but because you see its purpose. You can finally bless those who betrayed you, because their betrayal birthed your breakthrough. You can finally rest in peace, knowing that the pain was never wasted. And now, the clarity that is coming will not just comfort you, it will commission you. The wisdom you've gained will become a lamp for others still walking through the dark. You will speak peace into confusion because you know what it feels like to be lost. You will comfort the broken because you know the language of pain. You will carry light into places that once swallowed you in shadow. What once wounded you will soon become the weapon of your warfare. The very area of your life that caused you the most anguish will become the platform for your greatest authority. You will speak from experience, not theory. And that's what will give your voice its power. The world will look at your story and see resilience, but heaven will look at it and see redemption. You were not rescued from the fire, you were refined by it. And now, you shine with the kind of strength that can only be forged through suffering. Beloved, understanding doesn't erase the pain, but it redeems it. It gives meaning to the unexplainable and peace to the unanswered. You no longer have to ask, "Why me?" You can now say, "Thank you, Lord, for trusting me with this path," because what you carried birthed something eternal inside of you. So stand still for a moment, breathe, and take it in the realization that every tear was a teacher, every loss a lesson, every delay a doorway. You will see why it had to happen. And when you do, you'll bow not in confusion, but in awe. The pain served its purpose. The purpose served your destiny. And destiny, chosen one, is now ready to serve your joy. There is a sacred silence before every coronation. It is the moment when heaven holds its breath, when angels prepare the oil, and when the soul that has been refined through fire is finally ready to receive its crown. Chosen one, that moment is upon you. The season of endurance is giving birth to elevation. You have passed through trials that tested your faith, fire that purified your motives, and storms that revealed your strength. Now the heavens are opening, and divine authority is descending upon your life. For so long, you have walked through life wearing invisible scars, misunderstood by many, overlooked by some, and underestimated by most. But heaven saw it differently. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared for the crowning moment. Everything you endured was the making of the one God has chosen to elevate. The crown you are receiving now is not made of gold or jewels. It is made of wisdom, humility, and glory refined through obedience. It was written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but unto all them also that love his appearing. That crown is not just a symbol of heavenly reward, it is a declaration of earthly authority. The crown represents alignment, the moment when your spirit, purpose, and calling converge in harmony with God's will. You have been through the wilderness long enough to understand that the crown is not for comfort but for responsibility. To wear it means to lead with love, to speak with truth, and to walk with integrity. Chosen one. The crowning does not come because of perfection, it comes because of perseverance. You fell and rose again. You doubted and still believed. You faced the pressure to quit and chose to remain. The crown is not given to the flawless but to the faithful, and you, weary, refined, still standing, are found faithful. Heaven crowns in secret before the world sees it. Long before others recognize the shift, God has already placed it upon you. You may not feel different yet, but something within you knows the change is real. Your prayers carry more weight. Your words hold more power. Your peace is harder to disturb. That is what divine authority feels like: quiet, steady, undeniable. The trials you endured were not random tests, but sacred initiations. You were being entrusted with influence that cannot be corrupted by pride or fear. You were learning how to lead from humility, how to carry glory without losing grace. The nights of pain taught you empathy. The days of silence taught you wisdom. The brokenness you once cursed has become the reason you can now lead with compassion. Every crown comes with a cost. Yours was paid in tears, patience, and obedience. The crown of righteousness is forged in the fire of surrender. It was when you said, "Lord, even if you don't deliver me now, I will still trust you," that heaven began shaping your victory. You didn't realize it, but every yes you gave in faith was another jewel added to your crown. This moment, this quiet rising, is not about recognition but realization. You are realizing who you've become. You no longer need validation from people because heaven has already confirmed your worth. You no longer chase opportunities because they are now being drawn to your light. You are walking in divine royalty, not because of your status, but because of your surrender. The crown signifies that your warfare has shifted. You are no longer fighting to survive. You are reigning to serve. The authority you carry now will silence storms that once terrified you. The peace upon you will stabilize others still trembling in fear. You are stepping into the role heaven prepared a carrier of light in a darkened world. And this crowning is not just symbolic, it's prophetic. The places where you were once rejected will soon recognize your anointing. Those who dismissed you will see that you were chosen long before they ever knew your name. The same environments that broke you will now honor you. This is not revenge, it's revelation. The crown reveals what heaven already knew that you were meant to lead. So lift your head, chosen one. The weight you feel is not pressure, it's placement. The crown rests heavy at first, but soon it will feel natural, as if it had always belonged there. You are walking in new authority, carrying peace that transcends understanding, radiating glory that draws hearts to the presence of God. This is your crowning moment. The battle has done its work. The fire has finished its course, and the victory is yours to carry with grace. You are no longer who you were. You are who you were always meant to be. Wear your crown humbly. Walk in your purpose boldly. The world is about to see what heaven already declared, that you are chosen, crowned, and commissioned for such a time as this. Chosen one. Pause for a moment and let your heart take this in. You were not born by accident, and you have not endured in vain. You have walked through valleys where others would have lost their way, and still, you rise. You are here because heaven decided that your existence would carry meaning beyond what the world could measure. You are one of God's chosen, set apart, not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. There were seasons when you doubted that truth. You questioned your worth, wondering how someone so broken could be chosen by God. You looked at your reflection and saw failure, while heaven looked at you and saw fire, the flame of endurance that refused to die. Even when you didn't understand, you kept walking. Even when you felt unseen, you kept believing. Every step you took in faith became a declaration to the unseen realm, I am still here. The Apostle Peter wrote words that echo across generations. In the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's possession to declare his marvelous light. That verse is your identity in one breath. You are royal not because of your title, but because of your testimony. You are holy not because of perfection, but because you were purified by endurance. You are chosen not because of status, but because of surrender. The light that surrounds you now is the very evidence of all that tried and failed to destroy you. Chosen one. Heaven did not choose you for comfort, it chose you for calling. Your story is not meant to sit quietly, it's meant to carry light. The way you forgive, the way you show kindness, the way you speak peace into chaos, all of it is ministry. Your presence alone is proof that restoration is real. You carry the fragrance of grace. It follows you everywhere you go. People will sense it even before they understand it. But let me tell you something beautiful. The same pain that once isolated you is about to connect you. There are souls waiting for your voice, people who think they are too far gone, too broken, too lost. Your story will be the bridge that leads them back to hope. The words you speak now carry healing because they've been baptized in experience. You don't just quote scripture, you embody it. You lived through darkness, and now your light has authority. Don't underestimate what God has placed within you. The anointing you carry doesn't need validation. You don't have to explain your process or prove your worth. The fruit of your endurance will speak for you. The peace on your face, the calm in your spirit, they're louder than any defense. The chosen don't chase approval, they radiate assurance. And if these words find you right now in the middle of confusion or transition, let them serve as a reminder, you are not forgotten. You are being positioned. Heaven has not overlooked your faithfulness. It has simply been waiting for the right moment to reveal what it's been building inside you. Everything is aligning in your favor. even the parts you can't see yet. If your heart feels this truth, take a moment to connect in faith. Gently press, like not for attention, but as an act of agreement that you accept your calling. Share this message so that someone else who is wandering in their own darkness can find light through you. And then, write in the comments these words, "I accept my purpose." When you type those 4 words, you are not posting for the algorithm. You are declaring alignment with heaven. You are saying, "I choose obedience over fear. I choose faith over hesitation. I choose to step fully into who God made me to be." It's not just engagement, it's affirmation. It's the echo of your soul saying yes to destiny. And if you haven't already, subscribe, not for formality, but to stay connected to the flow of words heaven keeps releasing. Each message builds upon the last. Together, they form a living stream of encouragement, a reminder that you are not walking alone. Sometimes, the right word at the right moment is all it takes to steady your spirit. And that's what these messages are meant to be, steadying oil for your soul. Chosen one. Take pride not in being strong, but in being faithful. You didn't survive by luck, you survived by purpose. Every battle you fought refined you for this hour. You are standing in the manifestation of prayers once whispered through tears. You are proof that God doesn't choose the qualified, He qualifies the chosen. So lift your chin, breathe deep, and walk like the royalty you are. The journey wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Every scar has become a seal of authenticity. Every struggle has become a story worth telling. Every loss has prepared you to love deeper, lead wiser, and shine brighter. Your crown fits now, not because life got easier, but because your spirit grew stronger. You are chosen, called, crowned, and ready. And the world will soon see what heaven has known all along, that your light cannot be hidden any longer. There is a holy rhythm in restoration, a divine overflow that begins quietly but cannot be contained. At first, it appears as small blessings, subtle shifts, gentle signs of renewal. But soon, chosen one, it expands beyond anything you imagined. This is the season when the restoration of God begins to overflow, not just enough to mend what was broken, but more than enough to bless those around you. The restoration is not stopping with you, it is spreading through you. You have walked through loss so deep that you feared you'd never recover. You've seen dreams die in your hands and watched promises fade before your eyes. Yet here you stand, not empty, but expectant. The reason you are still here is because heaven intended not only to restore what was taken, but to multiply it until it overflows. The blessings ahead will not fit into the containers you built during your survival season. You will have to expand. As it is written in the book of Zechariah, chapter 9, verse 12, "Return to your fortress. You prisoners of hope, I announce that I will restore twice as much." That is not poetic comfort, it is divine decree. Heaven is announcing repayment, not partial, not delayed, but double. The same areas where you were once diminished will now become the very areas where you overflow. The years that seemed wasted are being redeemed in a single season of acceleration. The time you thought was lost is being restored through divine multiplication. Chosen one, your restoration will not come in fragments. It will come in waves, unstoppable, undeniable, overflowing. It will start in your heart and spill into every corner of your life. The healing you carry will bring peace to your family. The wisdom you've gained through pain will open new doors of provision. The grace upon you will begin to draw favor from unexpected places. Restoration is not linear, it is exponential. You will notice it first in your perspective. The same things that used to break you will no longer shake you. The places where you once felt fear will now be filled with calm confidence. That is evidence of internal restoration, the rebuilding of your spiritual foundation. From there, everything external begins to align. Relationships heal, finances recover, opportunities emerge. Even your physical strength begins to reflect divine renewal. This overflow will feel unfamiliar at first. After years of struggle, your heart may question whether you deserve this peace, this abundance, this grace. But remember, restoration is not a reward for perfection, it is the result of perseverance. You endured the drought. You stayed faithful when everything was dry. You continued to trust when nothing made sense. And because of that, heaven now declares, it is time. The overflow is not for indulgence, but for impact. You will find yourself blessing others without even trying. Words you speak will bring healing to weary hearts. Your presence will carry comfort. Your story will spark hope in those who thought God forgot them. You will not only live in restoration, you will become restoration, a living example that what was broken can be rebuilt, stronger, wiser, more beautiful than before. The abundance coming will not overwhelm you, it will stabilize you. God is not flooding your life to drown you in favor, but to establish you in purpose. You will move with quiet authority, knowing that every gift has been entrusted to you for divine reasons. You'll give freely because you know the source cannot run dry. The joy you once had to fight for will now flow naturally, effortlessly, continuously. And when you look back at the barren seasons, the lonely nights, the unanswered prayers, you'll no longer feel bitterness. You'll feel gratitude, because you will see that the wilderness was not a punishment, but a preparation. It taught you how to handle the overflow without forgetting the giver. Chosen one. This is what it means when heaven restores beyond imagination. The same hands that allowed what was taken are now filling your life with divine compensation. The same tears that once watered your grief are now watering your harvest. Every no that wounded you was making room for a yes that will overflow. You will not have to chase this blessing, it will find you. It will meet you where you stand, in the midst of your obedience, in the center of your peace. You'll realize that you were never waiting for restoration. Restoration was waiting for you to heal enough to receive it. So, breathe. Beloved, the storm has passed. The soil of your soul is fertile again. The rain of grace is falling, and the seeds you thought died long ago are sprouting with life. This is the fulfillment of divine promise, the overflow of restoration. You are stepping into abundance that will speak louder than your pain ever did. There comes a sacred moment when your story ceases to be only your own and becomes a sign to others, a living testimony of divine faithfulness. Chosen one. That moment is here. What you have walked through, survived, and overcome is no longer just your journey. It has become a message from heaven written through your life. You are now the evidence that God restores completely, magnificently, and eternally. There was a time when you wondered if the pain would ever make sense. You questioned whether the years of suffering had any purpose at all. But now, as the light of restoration rises around you, clarity begins to flood your heart. The things that once felt like random losses now reveal themselves as sacred lessons. You see, God never wastes pain, He transforms it into purpose. What once felt like breaking was actually birthing. The ancient words recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 11, declare, "They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death." Your testimony, chosen one, is your weapon. It carries authority because it was paid for in tears. The story you lived through was not written for sympathy, but for impact. When you speak of what God has done, heaven moves again. Every time you share how you were restored, someone else's hope reignites. You become a walking altar, a living reminder that grace is still greater than grief, that mercy is still stronger than mistakes. You are not the same person who entered the fire. The storms have reshaped you, refined you, and revealed you. You walk differently now, not in fear, but in faith. You carry peace that cannot be stolen, joy that does not depend on circumstance, and wisdom that cannot be taught in ease. Your scars have become signatures of survival, marks of divine craftsmanship. The beauty of your story is that it testifies without striving. You don't have to prove anything anymore. Your presence alone declares redemption. When others see you smiling after all that tried to destroy you, they witness a miracle. When they hear the calm in your voice, they hear the echo of heaven's victory. What you carry now is evidence, tangible proof that restoration is not a myth, but a reality. Chosen one, you will find that your story will travel further than you ever intended. It will reach hearts you'll never meet, speak healing into souls you'll never see. The pain that once isolated you will now connect you to others. You will speak words that cut through despair, not because you memorized scripture, but because you lived it. Your life has become the sermon. Even the way you walk into a room will carry testimony. You will not need to announce your transformation. People will sense it. The peace upon you will speak louder than any introduction. The grace in your posture, the strength in your silence, the warmth in your words, all will testify that heaven has touched you. There will be moments when you look back and barely recognize who you used to be. The anger, the confusion, the self-doubt, they no longer have power. You will thank God even for the pain, not because it was pleasant, but because it was purposeful. It led you here to peace, to clarity, to destiny. You will see how every broken path led to sacred ground. And as this realization deepens, something holy will rise inside you, a quiet gratitude that no words can fully express. You will see that restoration was never about replacing what was lost. It was about revealing who you truly are. The journey didn't just restore your life, it revealed your identity as a chosen vessel of glory. Now your story belongs to eternity. Heaven will use your life as a pattern for others. When someone else stands in their valley, your testimony will become their compass. When they whisper, "I can't make it," your survival will whisper back, "Yes, you can." You are the proof that resurrection follows ruin, that peace follows pain, that joy follows mourning. And it doesn't end here. Restoration is not a one-time miracle, it's a continual flow. Every day forward, you will see new layers of redemption unfold. The blessings will multiply not only in your hands, but in the lives you touch. God's glory will ripple outward from you, touching generations that come after. Chosen one, This is the completion of the circle, not the end, but the beginning of legacy. You have moved from brokenness to wholeness, from weeping to worship, from loss to life. Your story is now a declaration written in light. God restores. When the world looks at you, may they see the reflection of a faithful God, a God who heals, redeems, and renews. You are not merely restored, you are resurrected into purpose. Your life sings the eternal truth: what God restores, He restores forever. Chosen one, we have come to the end of this journey, but not the end of your story. Every word you've read was a mirror reflecting who you've been and revealing who you're becoming. You've walked through fire, but not as a victim. You've emerged as a vessel purified, radiant, ready. The same God who guided you here will walk beside you in every step that follows. Look back for a moment, not in sorrow, but in awe. The valleys that once made you tremble now look small from the mountain you've climbed. The tears that once fell in secret have watered a garden of strength within you. You are no longer waiting for restoration, you are living in it. The world may see only your smile, but heaven sees the journey behind it, every scar, every prayer, every triumph. Now, your task is simple: carry the light forward. Be the proof that faith still works, that endurance still wins, and that love never fails. Wherever you go, let your presence remind others that brokenness can become beauty, and endings can give birth to beginnings. If these words have stirred your spirit, if you felt seen, strengthened, or restored, then take a moment to let heaven know. Like this message as a sign of gratitude. Share it so that someone else, standing where you once stood, might find their way back to hope. And comment below, "I walk in restoration." Those 4 words are not just an affirmation, they are a declaration. They say, "What God began in me, I will continue to live out." And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not for routine, but to stay connected to the flow of encouragement and revelation. There is more ahead, and every message is another step on this sacred path. Stay near, stay teachable, stay chosen. Your journey doesn't end here. It begins anew, brighter, stronger, overflowing with grace. You are restored. You are radiant. You are ready.